Today I'll do a little bit more on this one that I've been using as an ongoing demo for every project. So it's the last section of the animals project today, or that I'm working. Obviously, if you want to carry on, that's fine. So next in April, next month, next week. So it's a 4-week month, and the theme for next week is flowers and spring. So you can interpret that how you want. If you want to make it more of a flower painting or more of a general kind of spring theme. So I'll leave that to you. Do you want a chair on that?
Yeah, I've got one here.
Yeah.
It's all right.
So that's the theme for next week. Any requests with that one? Flowers, yeah.
Yeah, great.
Or any particular medium you'd like to cover? Or...
Really?
Acrylic, yeah, okay.
Boring.
I'll try. Yeah, I'll do some acrylics then. What else? The other thing I'm thinking is, over the next few months, well, if it ever stops raining, I might start some outdoor sessions, which 1 or 2 people have requested. I'm going to do them, I haven't decided yet when yet, but I thought maybe 1 or 2 a month, something like that, up to the summer, to have our summer break. And there'll be days that we're not doing these classes, so I'll do them on other days, so that I'm not disrupting these classes. I think the last couple of years I tended to do them, well, during COVID I did them instead of classes, when I could only meet people like 6 people at a time and things like that. And I didn't go very far afield, so I was thinking, well, things are a lot brighter now. Well, they're not brighter, but a lot healthier now. So we could go further afield if anybody wants to do trips further afield. So, have a think. If you're interested in that, let me know. Any particular days, any particular venues, locations you'd like to go to, that sort of thing. So I know that's not for everybody, not everybody's into the outdoor stuff, but I know some people like to do that. Okay, so that's that one. So I think that's it. So I'll do a little bit on this one now. So what I've done actually is, so that was the original sketches in the sketchbook. I then flew it up on the computer and made it, sort of traced it onto there. On the Thursday class, I thought it was all a bit too low, and I made a few changes. So I made this a little bit taller and redrawn the bird. I've also brought this up a little bit. So it's just making some changes. So rather than just religiously following a photograph, trying to just interpret it a little bit differently. Some things, like what was happening here was, well, it looks all right on the sketch, but when I did that as a painting, things were just lining up too much. So the tops of the posts were too in line with the background, and this felt like it was sinking a bit. So I just raised that a little bit. There's actually a sort of tarmac colour here, and then a path colour here, but I think the path colour is a bit nicer really, so I'm thinking, well, that might look nicer if that was just running right the way through. So this is just making a few kind of artist license changes to make the picture more interesting. I do tend to be a little bit of a sort of follow everything, but I think it would probably do me good to make some changes in there.
Okay.
So
I'm the opposite to you then.
well, you change everything, do you? Yeah. Well, I think it is working out what works for the painting, really, isn't it? And that's at the end of the day to do. So I'm just thinking I don't want to make that exactly the same colour, it's a little bit redder actually. But just have that, perhaps have this leading round this way, so that perhaps give a little bit of although it isn't particularly in the photograph. If I make that sort of leading there, just lighten that a little bit, and then I was thinking sort of curving around that way, which I think, well, in this photograph it seems to curve that way. I think there was a path going around that way. I can just kind of suggest that going around. although this is very green, I've wanted to sort of underplay the green. It's not my favourite colour green, I find it a little bit dominating, so I've made it a softer green, and in places I've added a little bit of a lilac-y colour, so I'll just show you that. So it's basically a little bit of blue, and a little bit of yellow to make a... So the blue is the ultramarine blue, which doesn't make a very bright green, and a little bit of cadmium yellow, or yellow ochre might be better actually. Yes, just make quite a soft, just about there green, and some white, and then that can go into here and just a little bit in places. Probably a little bit too light there. Yeah, that looks okay. Just pop a little bit there. There's a little bit of pink in there, so just adding a little bit of magenta to that mix. So I want to keep it a fairly tonal painting. Add a little bit of blue. Sort of lilac colour. And I've found sometimes when you look at an area of green, quite often there are lots of other colours there, there'll be little bits of pink perhaps shining up from the earth, the brown earth and things like that. So I don't think it's too far-fetched to add some of those colours and tones in there. And hopefully that will kind of liven the area up. These trees in the background, I want to keep a sense of distance, so I've lightened them a little bit. Again, maybe brown and blue, and a tiny bit of yellow ochre, a little bit of white. So it's a greyish green. I've noticed quite a few of my students will just get the green straight out of the tube and swap that in there. But it has the effect of just bringing it very close. And when we look at landscape, we're looking at it through the atmosphere and the air. You know, the particles in the air have the effect of kind of greying things down. So what happens is the very yellowy, reddy colours don't sort of come through the atmosphere, whereas it tends to be the greys and the blues that will. Something like that will just give a suggestion of something going on in the distance, a little bit of shadow further down at the bottoms. The sky I'm going to keep quite grey, I didn't want that very bright. So that gone a little bit too warm there, so I'll just, where I've made my changes here, I started blocking that out the other day. Just make that slightly more similar to the other colours I've used, that's too dark. And I've really enjoyed painting this because it's an image that I can just play around with it. I don't feel it has to be particularly resolved. Maybe
Masterpiece.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Well, it might be a masterpiece, but it might not. And just leaving it to experiment. So that is perhaps a little bit better. And then the bird itself, let's just clean that up. Although it's black and gold, I think I'll start with some of the lighter tones. So a pale grey. It's got quite a lot of shadow on its front. So that can be... And again, it's experimenting. I quite like the way these light ones pop out here. They're a lot lighter than in the photograph or here, but you know, try it and see how it looks. So that's the really bright bit. There, and then just using some of the greys I've already got mixed. It's quite nicely a bit darker. Great, with the brown and the blue. Soften that out a little bit. Quite a bit darker just underneath. Still. No. And then its tail's quite dark. like that. And just make it dark, warm dark colours. I've got a bit of green, red and blue here to make it dark, a bit of red. Well, probably needs a bit of refining. Yeah, I'm doing a bit. I think the eye is a tiny bit lighter, so I'll just use the corner of the brush and whoop, too big. Something like that, just to suggest the eye. So, yeah, a bit more refining the shape, but I think, you know, it feels like it's on its way. Any questions? So that's the water mixable oils, that is. Okay, yeah, so have a think for next week, what you fancy doing. I'll have a look through my photographs and see what I've got, sort of springtime photos. See from there. See what we're thinking.